Good day, everyone. This is your favorite English teacher, Soroosh. So today, we're going to talk about sleeping beauty. This is part 6B of book 4, level 4. And I apologize if I upload this level with delays. It takes so much time and I'm extremely busy, but I will do it to the end. That's a promise. Now, if you're ready, let's learn. Part 1, listening and speaking. You can see I have my headphones. So the first question that I have for you is that, do you have problems sleeping? Why or why not? Write your answers down. Very good. Now, I need you to listen to 3 people, speaker 1, 2, 3. They're going to talk about their sleeping problems. Listen and take notes on what their problem is and what has caused it. Okay? After that, compare with a partner. Okay? Very good. So let's listen one by one. Let's go.
3.40. 1.
Why do you have problems sleeping?
Well, I'm from a pretty rural area, but I moved to the city a few years ago when I got married. I've been living in the city for 3 years now. I have a lot of problems getting to sleep at night because our bedroom just isn't dark enough. I can't get used to sleeping in a bedroom where there's light coming in from the streetlights outside. Where I grew up, I always used to sleep in complete darkness because my bedroom window had blinds, and when I went to bed, I used to close the blinds completely. But here in the city, our bedroom window just has curtains, and curtains don't block out the light very well. It takes me a long time to get to sleep at night, and I always wake up more often than I used to.
So why don't you just get heavier curtains?
Because my wife doesn't like sleeping in a completely dark room. She says that she feels claustrophobic if the room is too dark.
Yes, a lot of people do feel like that.
Okay, very good. If you need, you can rewind and listen again. Now, speaker 2, listen and take notes.
3.41. 2.
Why do you have problems sleeping?
Well, I'm a police officer, and so I have to work different shifts, which means I work at night every other week. So I start work at 10 o'clock at night and end at 6 in the morning the following day. The main problem is that my body's used to sleeping at night, not during the day. So it's hard to get used to being awake all night and trying to work and concentrate when your body is just telling you to go to bed.
But isn't it something you get used to?
Actually, no, because I work during the day for 1 week, and then the next week I work at night, which means that just when my body has gotten used to being awake at night, then I go back to working in the day. And then, of course, I can't get to sleep at night because my body thinks it's going to have to work all night. The other problem is that when I get home after working a night shift, everyone else is just starting to wake up, so that means that it can be really noisy. The neighbors turn the radio on and bang doors and shout to wake their children up. So even though I'm really tired, it's just very hard to get to sleep.
How many hours do you usually sleep?
Before I became a police officer, I used to sleep about 8 or 9 hours a night. But I think now I probably don't sleep more than 6 hours.
Okay, very good. So again, the same system. If you need to listen again, rewind and listen again. Now, speaker 3. All right. Listen and take your notes.
3.42. 3.
Why do you have problems sleeping?
I have a lot of problems sleeping because of jet lag. I have to travel a lot in my job, and I take a lot of long-haul flights. I fly to New York quite often, and I arrive maybe at 6 o'clock in the evening, my time, but when it's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon in New York. So at 5 o'clock in the afternoon local time, I'll be feeling tired and ready for bed because it's my bedtime. But I can't go to sleep because I'm probably still working or having dinner with my American colleagues. Then, when I do finally get to bed at, say, midnight local time, I find that I wake up in the middle of the night because my body thinks that it's morning because I'm still working on UK time.
And can you get back to sleep when you wake up?
No, that's the problem. I can't get back to sleep. And then, the next day when I have meetings, I feel really sleepy. It's very hard to stay awake all day. And just when I'm finally used to being on New York time, then it's time to fly home. And flying west to east is even worse.
Oh, why's that?
Because when I get off the plane, it's early morning in the UK. But for me, on New York time, it's the middle of the night. It takes me 4 or 5 days to recover from one of these trips.
Gosh, that must be really difficult for you.
Okay, very good. Now, I need you to compare your notes with your friends. Okay, so let's see. First one. So he is from a rural area. Rural means village or country. And moved to the city 3 years ago. He has problems getting to sleep and wakes up when he is asleep because his bedroom isn't dark enough. He prefers to sleep in complete darkness with closed blinds, which he always used to do where he grew up. But his wife doesn't. Their room has thin curtains that don't keep out all the light. Oh, that's a big problem. His wife would feel claustrophobic with heavier curtains. Okay, next one. Okay, so he's a police officer and has to work different shifts. 1 week nights and 1 week days. So he works for 1 week in the night shift. Next week it's going to be day shift. Yeah. When he works at night, he feels tired, but he can't get to sleep when he gets home because it's too noisy and everybody else is getting up. And just when his body gets used to working nights, it's time to change to working during the day. All right. And last one, well, she travels to New York very often for work and suffers from jet lag. Oh, this is a big problem, jet lag. Google it. Because of the time difference. When she arrives, it's evening for her, but it's 1 o'clock local time. So when it's her bedtime, she still has to work and go out for dinner. When she finally gets to bed, she wakes up in the night because her body clock is still on UK time. So she feels tired the next day. By the time she gets used to the New York time, it's time to go home. But flying home west to east is worth. So she always arrives home in the morning UK time, but it's night for her body. Jet lag. That's a very big problem. Now, you and your friends, I need you to speak together. 3 questions. First one, do you usually sleep with your bedroom completely dark or with the curtains or blinds open? Do you have problems sleeping if there's too much or not enough light for you? Have you ever worked at night? Did you have any problems sleeping the next day? Why not or why? Do you think you would be able to work at night and sleep during the day? Have you ever flown long haul? Where to, and did you get jet lag? How long did it take you to get over it, to adapt? All right, your turn. Speak with your friend. Nice discussions. I liked it. Now, used to, be used to, get used to. Okay, look at some extracts, the highlighted phrases from the listening. Match the highlighted phrases to their meaning from 1 to 3. Okay, what form is the verb after A, used to, B, or get used to? Okay, very good. This is your test. Take your time, stop the video and do it. Very good. So, let's check. Where I grew up, I always used to sleep in complete darkness. I usually did this in the past. It's hard to get used to being awake all night. That's number 3. It's a problem for me because it hasn't become a habit yet. And just when I'm finally used to being on New York time, then it's time to fly home. So number 2, it's not a problem for me because it's now a habit. Okay, very good. Let's see. All right. So after used to, the verb that follows is in the infinitive without to. And after be or get used to, the verb that follows is in the ing form because to is a preposition here, not an infinitive. And you may say, okay, teacher, but I don't understand. Okay, follow me, I'll explain. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
3.43. 1,
I used to sleep for 8 hours every night, but now I only sleep for 6.
I didn't recognize him. He didn't used to have a beard.
2,
When I lived in Mexico as a child, we used to have pan dulce for breakfast. We would buy them every morning from the local baker.
Okay, so look, used to, didn't used to. Okay, so used to, didn't used to plus the base form. The base form is the original form of the verb. Okay, to talk about past habits or repeated actions or situations that have changed. For example, used to doesn't exist in the present tense for the present habits. Like, I used to sleep for 8 hours every night, but now, yeah, it's a past habit, yeah? Okay, so you don't use it for the present tense. Okay, usually simple. I usually walk to work, not I used to walk to work, yeah? Not for right now. You're talking about past experiences. We can also use would to refer to a repeated action in the past. For example, we would buy them every morning. Okay? Now, look, be used to, get used to, plus the gerund. Gerund is the ing form of the verb. Listen.
3.44. 1,
I'm not used to sleeping with a comforter. I've always slept with blankets.
Carlos has lived in Hong Kong for years. He's used to driving on the left.
2,
I can't get used to working at night. I feel tired all the time.
Don't worry, you'll get used to it fast.
Awesome. So, look, be used to. I'm not used to sleeping with a comforter. Okay? So, they come with ing or get used to. I can't get used to working all nights. Okay? So, be used to plus gerund, ing, you use it to talk about a new situation that is now familiar or less strange. And get used to plus gerund, you talk about a new situation that is becoming familiar or less strange. Okay? Now, you may say, I don't understand the difference. Okay, look. He used to driving on the left. Now, look at this one. I can't get used to working at night. All right, so one of them is talking about something that is now familiar, and the other one, you become familiar with it little by little. All right, now you can take a screenshot from this page because we want to practice together. No worries, I've got your back. As always, we have 2 sets of exercises. Okay, my friends, so in the first one, right or wrong. If it's wrong, okay, fix it. Look, I can't get used to getting up early. It's correct. She isn't used to have a big dinner in the evening. She isn't used to having. So if it's wrong, fix it. Now as for be, complete with used to, be used to, or get used to. Positive or negative? You decide. And the verbs in parentheses. For example, my boyfriend is Japanese, so he isn't used to driving on the left. Okay, as always, stop the video, take your time, do it yourself. There's no rush. I'm here. And if you're ready, let's do it together. So number 1, when we were children, we used to playing soccer on the street. Is it correct? Nope, we used to play. Yeah? Number 2, the first time we visited China, we couldn't get used to eat with chopsticks. We couldn't get used to eating with chopsticks. Number 3, have you gotten used to live in the suburbs, or do you still miss the city? No. Have you gotten used to living? Okay. Number 4, I'm really sleepy. I'm not used to staying up so late. It is correct. I'm usually in bed by midnight. Number 5, there used to be a movie theater in our town, but now it's closed down 3 years ago. Okay. Very good. Paul is used to having very long hair, but when he was younger. Okay, let's see. No, Paul used to have very long hair when he was younger. And I don't think I could work at night. It's not so bad. I'm used to it. No, I'm used to it. Number 8, did you used to wear a uniform to school? It's correct. Number 9, it's taking me a long time to be used to living on my own, to get used to living on your own. And last one, when I had tests in college, I used to stay up late all night studying. It's correct. Okay, next set. When Louis started his first job, he couldn't get used to getting up at 6 a.m. Number 2, I didn't recognize you. You used to have long hair, didn't you? Number 3, Isabel used to rent an apartment when she was in college, but now she has a house of her own. Okay? Number 4, when we were students, when we were children, we used to spend all day playing soccer in park. I apologize for my mistake. Number 5, Jasmine has been a nurse all her life, so she is used to working at nights. Number 6, I've never worn glasses before, but now I'll have to get used to wearing them. Number 7, Reiko is an only child. She isn't used to sharing her things. Number 8, although I've lived in Brazil for years, I've never gotten used to having dinner at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Number 9, I didn't used to like spinach, but now I love it. The last one, if you want to lose weight, then you'll have to get used to eating less. Great. So I know it may sound a little bit weird, but you'll get the hang of it. Practice and you'll master it. Let's go. Great. You made it so far. Pronunciation, sentence stress, and linking. I need you to listen and repeat 3 sentences. Okay? Let's do it together.
3.45. 1,
I'm used to working on a team.
2,
I can't get used to driving on the left.
3,
I used to get up at 6 o'clock every day.
All right. Well done. Very good. So linking and stress. Okay, now I need you to listen and write down 3 more sentences. Let's do it together with me. Okay?
3.46. 1,
I'm not used to sleeping on such a hard bed.
2,
I'll never get used to living alone.
3,
Did you used to sleep a lot when you were a teenager?
Well done. So you see, it's easy. They just link the sounds and have stress. Okay, now I need you to speak with your partner. Again, speaking. So the first part, when you were a child, did you used to share a room with a brother or sister? Did you used to have nightmares? Did you used to wake up early in the morning? Number 2, do you have problems if you have to sleep in a bed that you aren't used to sleeping in, for example, in a hotel? Do you think you would find it difficult to get used to getting up at 5:30 a.m. every day, only being able to sleep for 6 hours a night, or not having breakfast in the morning? Okay, write your answers to these questions. Speak with your friends. Compare your answers. Share your experiences. All the way to reading. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about sleeping, but first, I need you to read this introduction part. There are 3 questions. Do you know the answer to these questions? Write your answers. Yes, take your time. There's no rush. How can video games help us control our dreams? What is the Sleeping Beauty syndrome? What did our ancestors used to do in the middle of the night that we don't? Okay, write your answers. Now, I need you to read this completely and mark the sentences true or false. It's your turn.
A few moments later.
Let's read it together. So, sleep, everybody loves it. Everybody needs it. No one seems to get enough of it. We all know that most people need 8 hours of sleep, and that REM, R-E-M, rapid eye movement, sleep is when you have the most dreams. But here are 3 questions about sleep that you may not know the answer to. How can video games help us control our dreams? What is Sleeping Beauty syndrome? And what did our ancestors used to do in the middle of the night that we don't? Okay, living your dreams. A university psychologist in Canada believes that people who play video games are more likely to be able to control their own dreams. Jane Gackenbach, I'm very bad with names, studied the dreams of regular video gamers and non-gamers and found that people who frequently played video games experienced lucid dreams more often. A lucid dream is one in which we are aware that we are dreaming. In a lucid dream, the dreamer is sometimes able to control or influence what is happening to them in the dream. Very similar to controlling the action of the character in a video game. Dreams and video games are both parallel universes, says Gackenbach. It's a German name, I think. Gamers spend hours a day in a virtual reality and they are used to controlling their game environments. And this seems to help them to do the same when they are dreaming. Gackenbach also discovered that video gamers have fewer nightmares than non-gamers. Some experts believe that we have nightmares to help us practice for life-threatening situations in a safe environment. Since video gamers already put those situations regularly in games, Since video gamers already practice these situations regularly in games, Gackenbach's research suggests that video gamers may have less need of nightmares. But interestingly, when gamers do have nightmares, they react differently to non-gamers. What happens with gamers, says Gackenbach, is that when they have a scary experience in a dream, they don't run away like most of us do. They turn around and fight back. Okay, interesting. Now, let's check your answers. So, when we have a lucid dream, we know that we are dreaming. Okay, that's true. That's true. And in a lucid dream, the person who is dreaming can never change what is happening. That's false. All right. Gamers may be able to control their dreams because dreams are similar to computer games. That is true. The reason we have nightmares may be to prepare us for certain dangerous situations. That is true. Video gamers have more nightmares than non-gamers because they don't experience dangerous, life-threatening situations. That is false. And video gamers are braver in their dreams than non-gamers. That is true. Very nice. You did great. Sleeping Beauty. Everybody, read the article and answer the questions. As easy as that. It's your turn. I'll be waiting.
6.5 hours later.
In 2008, when Louisa Ball was 14, she had symptoms of the flu. And soon after she began falling asleep in class, then one day she went to sleep and didn't wake up. For 10 days, doctors diagnosed her as having a rare neurological disorder called Klein-Levin syndrome, also known as a Sleeping Beauty syndrome. People who have this medical condition often sleep for long periods without waking up. Louisa regularly misses long periods of school, her weekly dance lessons, and once a whole week of a family vacation because she's asleep. On one occasion, she even missed her final exams. When she sleeps for several days, her parents have to wake her up once a day to give her something to eat and take her to the bathroom. But then she immediately falls back into deep sleep. People who have this syndrome often complain that they lose their friends because they disappear for such long periods of time. Fortunately, Louisa's friends have stayed loyal and they even visit her on days when she is asleep. Although she sometimes feels frustrated, Louisa says, "I've gotten used to it now and I've learned to live with it." Doctors have told her that the syndrome will eventually disappear, but maybe not for 10 or 15 years. So that's Sleeping Beauty syndrome. I guess you know the answers to this question, but I've got another one for you. Follow me. How our ancestors, the generations before us, used to sleep? Again, you have to read the text and answer the questions. We have 4 questions. What did the historians' research show? Number 2, what was the typical sleep routine in those days? What did people do during the periods between sleeps? And number 4, what was Thomas Ware's experiment and what did it show? Okay, back to you, buddy. I'll be waiting.
12 seconds later.
An American historian, Roger Eckrich, has done a lot of research based mainly on literature and diaries that shows that until the end of the 18th century, humans used to sleep in 2 distinct periods called first sleep and second sleep. Now that is interesting. First sleep began about 2 hours after nightfall and lasted for about 4 hours. It was followed by a period of between 1 or 2 hours when people were awake. During the waking period, people were active. Most people stayed in bed reading, writing, or praying, etc. But others got up and even used the time to visit neighbors. They then went back to sleep for another 4 hours. This research is backed up by an experiment done by a psychiatrist, Thomas Ware, in the early 1990s, in which a group of people were left in total darkness for 14 hours every day for a month. By the 4th week, the people had begun to sleep in a very clear pattern. They slept first for 4 hours and then woke up for 1 or 2 hours before falling into a second 4-hour sleep, in exactly the same way as people had slept in the 18th century. The research suggests that today's habit of sleeping 7 to 8 consecutive hours may not be the most natural way to sleep. All right, that's very interesting. I guess you know the answers to the questions. Well done. Let's continue. Great. After all that reading, we need to have a quiz, vocabulary quiz. You can also rewind and look at the articles. Answer the questions. Use the right word. You can also use Google to help you. For example, look, a medical condition, often an unusual one, a syndrome. Okay, this is your gig. And if you're ready, let's do it together. Number 2, an adjective meaning staying faithful to somebody or supporting them, loyal. An adjective often used with sleep. A person who is in a sleep is difficult to wake up, deep sleep. 100 years, from 1900s to 2000, a century. A time in the evening when it becomes dark, nightfall. The verb meaning to speak to God, pray. A word for a person who plays a lot of video games, a video gamer. Okay, an adjective meaning clear, especially after a period of confusion, lucid. To change position so as to face the other way, turn around. Okay, now it's time to speak with your friend again. Answer the questions in pairs, you and your friend. Do you play video games? Oh, do you think it has any effect one way on the way you dream? Do you think it has any positive or negative effects on you? Number 2, what do you think would be the worst thing for someone with Sleeping Beauty syndrome? And do you think sleeping in 2 shorter periods is a better way of sleeping? Do you think it would suit you and your lifestyle? Okay, so answer these questions and speak with your friends. Compare your answers. All yours. All the way to part 5. You made it so far. Well done. So look at the picture and the headline of the article. Okay, the chef who cooks in the middle of the night. Why do you think the man cooks in the middle of the night? What do you think? All right. So I need you to listen to the first part of a radio program and check your answers to the question. What kind of things does he cook? Why is it a problem? All right, let's listen. I'm curious.
3.47.
And finally today, the story of a sleepwalker who gets up in the middle of the night and goes to the kitchen and starts, you guessed it, cooking. Robert Wood, who's 55 years old, used to be a chef until he retired last year. We have Robert and his wife Eleanor with us in the studio today. Robert, tell us what happens.
Well, I've been a sleepwalker for about 40 years now. I think it first started when I was about 14 or so. Anyway, these days I get up about 4 or 5 times a week, and I always end up in the kitchen, and I start cooking something.
Do you always cook?
No, not always. I've done other things too. I remember once I put the TV on at full volume, and once I filled the bath with water, although I didn't get in it. But I usually cook.
Eleanor, do you wake up when this happens?
Yes, I usually wake up because he's making a noise. I go downstairs and usually I find him in the kitchen. Once he was just laying the table, but other times he's been cooking.
What kind of things does he cook?
All sorts of things. I've caught him cooking omelettes and spaghetti bolognese, and even caught him frying chips once. That was a bit scary because he could easily have burnt himself or started a fire.
Do you ever eat the things that Robert cooks?
No. It always looks lovely, but I must admit I've never tried it. Not at 3 o'clock in the morning. No. And the trouble is, he always leaves the kitchen in a terrible mess. The last time he sleepwalked, he spilt milk all over the place.
So, Robert, you don't know that you're cooking?
No, I haven't. I really am asleep, and afterwards I just have no recollection of having cooked anything.
You're getting some help to see if you can cure your sleepwalking, aren't you?
Yes, I've been going to a sleep clinic in Edinburgh, where they think they'll be able to help me.
Well, good luck with that, and thank you both for coming into the studio today. Now, we're going to take a break, but join us again in a few minutes.
Okay, that was interesting. So Robert cooks in the middle of the night because he cooks when sleepwalking. He cooks all kind of things, omelets, spaghetti, bolognese, chips. Chips means French fries, by the way. It is a problem because he doesn't know he is doing it, and it could be dangerous. All right, very good. Follow me. Now, turns out they wrote a newspaper article about Mr. Robert Wood, a chef who sleepwalks and cooks. Okay, so first of all, try to fill in the blanks yourself. Now, I need you to listen, fill in the blanks, and mark the sentences true or false. So, listen, fill in the blanks, mark the sentences true or false. Okay, let's go.
3.48.
We've been talking to Robert, the sleepwalking cook, and his wife Eleanor, and we're now joined by Professor Maurice from Rochester, New York, who is an expert in sleepwalking.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome, Professor Maurice. Does this story surprise you?
No, it doesn't. Not at all. I've treated people who have driven cars, ridden horses, and I had one man who even tried to fly a helicopter while he was asleep.
Oh, no.
Do people usually have their eyes open when they sleepwalk?
Yes, sleepwalkers do usually have their eyes open. That's why sometimes it's difficult to know if someone is sleepwalking or not.
Mm-hmm. How common is sleepwalking?
More common than you might think. Research shows that about 18% of the population has a tendency to sleepwalk, but it's much more common in children than in teenagers or adults. And, curiously, it's more common among boys than girls. Adults who sleepwalk are usually people who used to sleepwalk when they were children. They might do it after a stressful event, for example, after a traffic accident.
People always say that you should never wake a sleepwalker up when they're walking. Is that true?
No, it isn't. People used to think that it was dangerous to wake up a sleepwalker, but in fact, this isn't the case. You can wake a sleepwalker up without any problem. Although, if you do, it is pretty common for the sleepwalker to be confused, so they probably won't know where they are for a few minutes.
So, if we see someone sleepwalking, should we wake them up?
Yes, you should remember that another of the myths about sleepwalkers is that they can't injure themselves while they are sleepwalking. But this isn't true. If a sleepwalker is walking around the house, they might trip or fall over a chair or even fall downstairs. There was a case a while ago of a 9-year-old girl who opened her bedroom window while she was sleepwalking and fell 30 feet to the ground. Luckily, she wasn't seriously injured. So, you see, Eleanor, you're right to worry that Robert might burn himself when he's cooking. You need to wake him up and get him back to bed.
How long does sleepwalking usually last?
It can be very brief, for example, a few minutes. The most typical cases are people getting up and getting dressed or people going to the bathroom. But it can occasionally last much longer, maybe half an hour or even more, as in Robert's case.
And what happens when sleepwalkers wake up? Do they remember the things they did while they were sleepwalking?
No, as Robert says, a sleepwalker usually doesn't remember anything afterward.
So, is a sleepwalker responsible for his or her actions?
That's a very good question, actually. A few years ago, a man from Canada got up in the middle of the night and drove 20 miles from his home to the house where his parents-in-law lived, and, for no apparent reason, he killed his mother-in-law.
Oh, goodness.
The man was charged with murder, but he was found not guilty because he had been asleep at the time he committed the crime.
What a sad story. Professor Maurice, thank you very much for joining us today.
All right, so check your answers with your friends. Very good. So, a sleepwalker can drive a car while he's asleep. True. It's easy to know if someone is sleepwalking or not. False. It isn't easy to know if someone is sleepwalking because sleepwalkers usually have their eyes open. About 8% of people sleepwalk from time to time. Actually, 18% of the population. Sleepwalking is most common among young boys. True. Stress can cause people to sleepwalk. True. You should never wake up a sleepwalker. False. You can wake up the sleepwalker without any problem. Sleepwalkers cannot hurt themselves. False. They actually can. People usually sleepwalk for a short time. That is true. Okay, and sleepwalkers don't usually remember anything afterwards. True. Sleepwalking is no excuse if you commit a crime. False. Is an excuse. The guy killed his mother-in-law and he was found not guilty. All right, that's interesting. Now, have you ever sleepwalked or do you know anyone who sleepwalks? What do they do when they sleepwalk? Where do they go? Does anyone try to wake them up? Answer the questions with your friends. And all the way to the last set of today's exercise. I know, it's been very long. Yeah, I know. So, I need you to put these in here. It's your turn. I'll be waiting. And if you're ready, let's listen and check.
3.49. 1,
Most people start feeling sleepy around 11 at night.
2,
They often open their mouth and yawn.
3,
They go to bed and set their alarm clock.
4,
They get into bed and put their head on the pillow.
5,
They cover themselves up with a comforter or with sheets and blankets.
6,
Soon they fall asleep.
7,
Some people make a loud noise when they breathe. In other words, they snore.
8,
During the night, some people have bad dreams called nightmares.
9,
If you don't hear your alarm clock, You might oversleep.
10.
If you drink coffee in the evening, it may keep you awake.
11.
Some people can't sleep because they suffer from insomnia.
12.
These people often have to take sleeping pills.
13.
Some people take a siesta or nap after lunch.
14.
A person who sleeps well sleeps like a log.
15.
Someone who is tired after flying to another time zone is jet-lagged.
16.
Someone who is sleeping very deeply is fast asleep.
You know the words. Let's speak it out. Ask and answer the questions in pairs, you and your friend. A asks blue questions, B asks the red questions. Ask for and give as much information as possible. Alright? For example, do you sometimes have problems getting to sleep? Do you take or have you ever taken sleeping pills? Do you have any tips for people who suffer from insomnia? Do you prefer to sleep with a comforter or with blankets? How many pillows do you have? What temperature do you like the bedroom to be? Do you find it difficult to sleep when you're traveling, for example in buses or planes? Is there any food or drink that keeps you awake or that stops you from sleeping well? Do you ever take a nap after lunch or during the day? How long do you sleep for? How do you feel when you wake up? Do you often have nightmares or recurring dreams? Do you usually remember your dreams and the topic they were about? Do you ever try to interpret your dreams? Interpret, translate it, or look at it online. What does it mean? Have you ever stayed up all night to study for a test the next day? How well did you do on the test? Are you a light sleeper or do you sleep like a log? How do you usually wake up in the morning? Do you have a TV or computer in your bedroom? Do you often watch TV before going to sleep? Do you ever fall asleep on the sofa in front of the TV? Do you snore? Have you ever had to share a room with someone who snores? Was this a problem? Have you ever fallen asleep at an embarrassing moment, for example during a class or in a meeting? Have you ever overslept and missed something important? What was it? Alright, as you can see, these are the questions. Write your answers to these questions and compare your answers with your friends. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. As always, if you have a question, you can comment down below and I will get back to you. And also you can download their slides in the description part and you can contact me with the channel's WhatsApp link. It was fun sleeping, yeah? Interesting things. And I learned so many new things. Until then, my friends, take care of yourself. Consistency, practice every day. I've got your back. See ya.